Good morning. Welcome back to Think Fast, Write Fast. We're going to talk today about the different formats your book can take. In other words, the dimensions and format, whether it could be paperback or what have you. I will not let this go. I continue to ask, why are you paying to publish your book? I can justify buying an evaluation copy, which you should, and in some cases are required to before your book can be released for publication. I could justify hiring talent to do layout for you. Certainly can justify hiring an editor, but you really should not be buying books. If you're buying cases of books, let me show you a better way. Real authors just don't pay to publish. We write to earn a living and to share our words. We don't write so we can buy cases of books and walk around saying, hey buddy, want to buy a book? Probably the most dramatic difference, in my opinion, between self-publishing and mainstream publishing is that you are responsible for doing the book layout. In both cases, you are responsible to some extent for advertising and promotion, but someone has to do the layout. And one option is to pay someone to do the layout. If you're someone who's considering learning to do layout for other people, I would never do layout for less than $400. I will explain to you as we go on why that's the case. If someone agrees to do your layout for $40, you're probably not going to get a very professional layout. There are other aspects besides just putting the words on the page, and I will tell you about those as we go on. Don't be intimidated. You can do this. Okay, print-on-demand publishing companies will generate a template based on the number of pages that you anticipate you will need in your book and based on the dimensions you want. Do you want a 6x9 book? So on. So it's fairly simple unless you want something more unique, and I encourage you to learn to do things that are more unique. Just as a teaser, there are sites, I don't do this, but there are sites who will actually sell you book templates. Really clever idea. So if you're really good at layout, there is a career field now that did not exist before. Every print on demand, which is a POD, offers different layout options, and you choose what's appropriate for the book that you are writing. PODs will tell you the minimum number of pages that you must have in your book. The reason you have to have a certain number of pages, the most practical reason, you're not going to be able to fit a title on the spine. As you walk through a bookstore or a library or look at books on your own bookshelf, you could tell which book is which because it has normally a title on the spine. So you always want to have that. Glasstree is the academic publishing entity that's owned by Lulu.com, and I will talk a lot about Lulu. Lulu's actually my favorite. I don't get paid to say that. I've worked with Lulu publishing books for myself and for others, and I really think they're stellar, and I will show you why. The minimum page count for Glasstree is 32 pages, but if you want a title on their spine, they require that your book be 130 pages. At Nook Press, by the way, Nook Press does not just do ebooks. We think of the Nook, the ebooks, but they actually do have a paper publishing entity as well. It's probably not an issue unless you're writing children's books, but typically your books are going to be longer than that. There may also be a maximum number of pages. I believe Lulu has a maximum of 740 pages. One of them does. That's a lot of pages. You're probably not going to hit the maximum. There are also minimum margin, and these vary based on what you're printing. But every book has a gutter, and that's where you lose a little bit of the real estate where you would normally have information because the book has to be bound in. But on all margins, there's a minimum so that your words and your images are printed on the paper so they don't just slip off the page. Full bleed, which is where you do have color or images or text going all the way to the edge of the paper. It looks like they go potentially beyond. That is full bleed. And even with full bleed, you typically will need a 1/8 inch margin. Those are the rules, but find out with whatever POD you're going with. Next up, you need to know what format. And the format, what they're referring to, and this is a common term across all PODs, CreateSpace, as you may know, is owned by Amazon, and it's probably the most well-known simply because they are owned by Amazon. They are not the only POD out there. All of them will offer a 6x9 paperback. But the two formats you essentially need to be aware of are whether you want color or black and white, and not all will do color. So you need to know ahead of time. Do you want color? And keep in mind that if so much as a single character or line or image has to be in color, the entire book is considered to be a color. And color always does cost a bit more. It's not necessarily outrageous. Always look at color. It may very well be affordable and will certainly set your book apart. The second aspect of format is simply the dimensions. And they will also dictate whether your book is square or rectangular. Most of your PODs will provide some sort of a calculator. Here we've chosen a full color 6x9, and if it's 257 pages long, it will cost $33.19 to produce this book. You don't have to know exactly how many pages your book will be, but you could certainly estimate. And what we're looking at here is the royalties. In the right-hand column over here, if we wanted to earn just $1 per book, we would have to charge $33.19. That would be your royalty. So you're not going to get rich off this. If you think half of the cover price is your royalty, you're very wrong. It's minimal. You can adjust what this royalty will be by deciding whether or not you really want color, what dimensions you want, and how many pages of content you do need to include. You need to calculate your profits up front. CreateSpace offers 4 publishing formats. You can publish a paperback. They do not have hardcover. I will talk about hardcover. I'm a big believer in hardcover. But you can publish a paperback with CreateSpace. Choose from different sizes of paperback, but paperback is the only paper option that Amazon's CreateSpace offers. You can also publish an audio CD, and remember, as I discussed in a previous video, you can assign an ISBN to a CD. It goes for a DVD, and you can also do a video download through CreateSpace. So you can move well beyond paper, but the only paper option is paperback. When I want something a little more sophisticated, I go with Lulu because they offer additional formats. Lulu is absolutely my favorite. They have 4 essential formats. They have a standard paperback, premium paperback, professional hardcover, including an optional dust jacket, and you can do books and calendars. Okay, this is the actual Lulu website, and they start right off with how much money can I make? Okay, so they have a really nice format here. This is lulu.com, and they do distribute through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Ingram. So this is a really important site because it does give you these additional options that you just cannot do with CreateSpace. Standard paperback, you have all these different sizes. All of the rectangular ones are black and white, but they do offer a square version that is full color. This is really good for children's books, photo books, coffee table books. They also have an option for a coil bound. Be aware with coil bound that these are not necessarily distributable through all retailers, and you could tell because the ones that have the little check mark are the ones that are distributable. I have published a coil bound, ended up actually being added to the Amazon Canada website. It's not on the Amazon US website. One of the options here is comic book. If you're doing anime, you have an option right here. So moral of the story is there are lots of options out there beyond CreateSpace. Most formats can be distributed through Amazon and Barnes & Noble. That is how you get into those databases. Next time, we're going to start talking about just bare bones publishing. And so that's all today from Think Fast, Write Fast. See you next time.